So we are going to go to, well, it's not the beginning, but we are going to go to a song that we've actually talked about on this show a couple of times in the past, but it can bear repeating. So it's the beginning of Pride Month, and we wanted to start Pride Month by talking about the seminal classic, I Was Born This Way, which was the first song where someone was singing about being out and proud, right? And that song is so incredibly interesting because it was written by a Black woman. It was sung by two Black gay men and was really steeped in Black culture in a way that it didn't seem like out of place or separate at the time when it was released. And so that song was originally released in 1975. And it was written by a woman named Bunny Jones. And Bunny Jones was a marvel. So she was like the first Black woman to own like a recording studio in New York. She owned hair salons. She was one of those magnetic people that did a lot of stuff, who was just kind of moving and shaking and kind of everybody knew who they were, but Harlem was her home base in New York.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so Bunny wrote this song inspired by Charles Valentino. I'm going to play a video from Charles in a second. But she wanted to honor the gay men in her life who she felt like were very marginalized, but who contributed a lot. So she wanted to create something for them. But she went a step further, Sir Daniel, and created a record label called GAIEE Records. Right. Just
get straight to the point.
Just get straight to the point. GAIEE. And this was going to be a place where if you were part of the community and needed somewhere where you could release your records, this would be the label for you.
Wow.
Interesting story. We're going to talk about that story in a minute. But what I thought I would do is I got this footage that most people haven't seen. So many people know Carl Bean for having done I Was Born This Way. So we are going to talk about Archbishop Bean. But I do want to pull and play a video of Charles Valentino talking about him getting this song first. So I want to play this video of Charles Valentino, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit about it. And we're going to talk about what happened with GAIEE Records too, because it leads into the Carl story. So here we go.
I did hair. I came back to in the United States. My friend Mary Seymour in it. She goes, I have a lady I think you should meet. Her name is Bunny. And she was the first Black woman to own her own studio in New York. And I think that you two will get along. So we were Westchester Music Fair. And she came back, black llama on. Remember those fur coats? Yes. She was black in black llama, okay? And she says, you don't know who you are, do you? Well, excuse me? She goes, She goes, you know more than you think you know, though. She goes, are you brave? And I says, I think I am. She goes, okay. We talked. So we became close, and she started writing this song. I was born this way. And she broke it down. I'm walking through life in nature's disguise. You laugh at me and you criticize. You call me strange because you don't understand God's role for me and his overall plan. Oh yes, I'm happy. I'm carefree, I'm gay, tain't a fault, 'tis a fact, I was born this way. She goes, I said, I love it. She says, okay, so she finished. So now I won't judge you. And long story short, she finished the song. She got this guy, Chris Spiro, and she said, we're going to go into the studio. I said, okay. And she goes, at this time, her son, Chris Jones, was Stevie Wonder's road manager. And Stevie was to come to her house. She would cook for Stevie. But he says, okay, I want Stevie to lay down the drums. So we're in the studio. Aisha had just been born. He left the hospital, came to the studio, laid the and he did it in one. he wanted to erase the whole track and re-record with, but Bunny was like, no, Stevie, we are not waiting 5 years for you to complete, because he said, you will start this and we will be 5 years later and it'll be brilliant, but it won't be what she wrote. So long story short, he laid the drum and she took it and put the records in the back of her car. She drove around. She went to Frankie Crocker, WBLS at the time. And Frankie was like another one of her children. She said, Frankie, I got this. He put it right on he put it on without a thing. And all of a sudden, I Was Born This Way was going through and I had friends of mine, and I didn't realize they were worried, thinking I was, and I wasn't.
Y'all.
I love hearing stories like that simply because I just love hearing when artists talk about their process and, what it took to get a record done, how things happen organically, the people that they met along the way that made it happen. Those kinds of things you just can't. I'm just glad you were able to capture that.
Yeah, man. So that is the brief history of how I Was Born This Way came to be. And so a couple of quick notes. Stevie Wonder plays drums on the first song to feature lyrics about being an out and proud gay man. What? That's amazing, right? In itself.
Yeah.
He was still in his classic period. He was working on songs in the key of life in this time. It's nuts, okay? So Stevie Wonder's playing drums on that song. The second thing, just this idea about the allyship, how Bunny saw this light in Val and wanted to write this song. Amazing. And then 3, yes, it moved all over the place and it got noticed by Motown. So Motown picked up this song. So it was released. Bunny was driving it around in her car. Berry Gordy got hold of it and was like, this is a hit. Talked to Bunny and was like, okay, let's get Motown distributing this. So the Gay Records label moved under Motown. Here's what's fascinating about that story is, remember I told that before we watched that it was Bunny's vision that if you were an artist within the LGBTQ community, you could come to this label, whatever. To this day, that is I Was Born This Way is the only release on that label, which is just an interesting note, right? But Motown ended up re-releasing I Was Born This Way. So it was released once. It was then re-released again in Val's version. And so that was kind of the second iteration of the song, but still in like the 1975 year.
Right.
So Carl Bean, whose first album is right there, recorded this album for ABC Records. And the man who, one of the executives over at Motown was playing Carl's record over at Motown. And Berry Gordy again was like, who's that singing? Who that? And he was like, oh, this is Carl Bean. This is a record he did over at Motown. Was like, can he do that I Was Born This Way record? And now we get into the second version of the song. So I want to play. Now, I only have audio, so I was also blessed, Sir Daniel, to be able to interview Archbishop Carl Bean.
That's right.
And I'm so happy that we got a chance to sit down. Now, Archbishop Bean was like, listen, Johnny, I'm not getting on the camera, but we could talk. We could talk by phone and do this interview that way. And so we did just that. And so I am going to play the audio of Archbishop Bean, him receiving the song, and then what he ended up doing to the song. And then, we'll come back. So here's that piece.
When they approached me, I knew when the song came that because I sat on that step and heard what's going on and the Staples, and that's what God had touched me with this message music. But in hearing that day, I never would have thought in a million years I was going to get the chance to sing about being gay. That was so far from my memory bank for thinking that it just was nowhere around. And when it came and Motown presented the song, I knew the minute I saw the lyric, it was mine to do. Because this is what I left to do. But I just didn't know it was going to be about my particular journey. I thought I'd be singing about race and, you know, love, and because that's the kind of stuff I wrote for the album.
Right.
Not thinking in a million years they was going to sing about gay nothing. I saw the lyric sheet. I said, ain't no need of me questioning God. This is why all of this has happened. So I just, by faith, need to walk through this door. And when they gave me the lyric, I said, I'm taking all this British language out of here. And I basically changed it. And then I asked the folk at Motown, I said, can I bring my own background in? And they said, well, who is it? I said, the Sweet Inspiration. So they said, you mean these Sweet Inspiration?
You mean them?
I said, yes, these Sweet Inspiration. They said, oh, hell yeah.
Like they were going to say no. You like, well, you know.
Yeah. So I called the cell. I said, y'all, I got a gift for you. They said, what? I told them. They said, yeah, Carl, you know we will. And I said, because if my girl, we all came up to New York together. I said, all we got to do, you give us the beat and we'll take it from there. We've been doing this a good while together. And so Stella and I worked that way in the studio that night. And the thing that the people loved was really my ad-libbing. All that stuff from a little bitty boy and help me like I love you and together. Ain't none of that in the lyric. Basically, I'm walking through life in nature's disguise. You laugh at me, you criticize, because I'm happy, carefree, and gay. Then she wrote, "Tain't a fault, 'tis a fact. I was born this way. Now I won't judge you, don't you judge me. We're all the way nature meant us to be." That's their lyric. All the other stuff that people sing and get off on is me taking it to church.
And so Carl Bean did his version of the song, and it's a seminal version. Like everyone plays that joint. You can hear it regularly in the club still today. But this song is kind of fascinating and an important part of LGBTQ history, Black history. This is Black history through and through. We've now established that we got Bunny Jones, we got Charles Valentino, we got Stevie Wonder, we got Carl Bean, we got Berry Gordy, we got the Sweet Inspirations, we got all of these folks have touched this record in some way. So you just can't separate this from the story of Black history. And so, yeah, that's where we wanted to start for Pride Month. You can watch the full episode of Q Points on YouTube, on Facebook, or on our website. Pick your favorite location. Peace.